Leadership demands vulnerability, transparency, authenticity. And sometimes people will make up authenticity to appear vulnerable so that their transparency wins them brownie points. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about making up stories to get pity, to get people to feel sorry for you, to win them over. That's not what I'm talking about with Story Power. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. So if you've been lying about your story to get empathy or pity, stay tuned and stop it.
Think storytelling's just for bedtime? Nah, it's the secret sauce for business magic. Stuck in a rut with bland pitches and yawning clients? Enter Boost Your Business with StoryPower. 6 weeks of epic storytelling training. It's like leveling up in a video game but for your career. Master the art of narrative and watch connections blossom like a viral TikTok. Simple, impactful, and game-changing. Ready to transform your biz vibes? Dive in now and make storytelling your superpower.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal growth plan at StoryPowerAcademy.com for leadership development and communication skills training.
I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. I've been telling people for years that as a leader, you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to be transparent. You've got to be authentic. You've got to be honest. You've got to have integrity. All of these things build together to create the authority that you're looking for as a leader to bring about transformation in people's lives. I don't care if you're a leader as in currently in the position of management, you're unifying people, you're building them together, you're helping them perform as a team to accomplish a goal, a function. I don't care if you're in leadership in that way, or if you're in leadership as a CEO or COO and you're gathering around your stakeholders and your shareholders, you're getting people to invest. You spend most of your time gaining the buy-in to get people to participate in what you're doing. And see, the challenge with both sides of that from a storytelling standpoint is the first step in story power. You've got to select the right story to tell. Now, I know there are people who believe that because I've had a traumatic past, then I have a story to tell. And because I have a traumatic past with a story to tell, I can also stack that story, the emotion, the drama of that story into everything that I do. And I'll gain the pity, the attention, the do well kind of sympathetic mentality of the audience. You with me? I want you to think about this. I'm about to give you what thousands of people have paid thousands of dollars to get. I'm going to give it to you in this podcast if you're paying attention. Now, I want you to understand who I'm talking to, because I'm talking to you if you're a leader who runs a business, if you're a CEO or an investor and you're looking to build deeper relationship with the people who have the money, if you're a manager of a small team, or if you're an entrepreneur who's in the information space and your job is leading, coaching, training other people, and you want to write a book, speak on stage to do that. Because this is a universal principle that a lot of people really mess up. I see people do it a lot of different ways because they're poking at the concept, but they haven't really got a grasp of the concept. So in this episode of Leading Leaders Podcast, I'm going to give you a StoryPower Academy concept called the drill bit. This is the drill bit. Your story is a drill bit. If you are not part of the 6 weeks to Story Power, I hope after just watching this episode, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I need to get onto this, because this is one fragment of what we're going to teach in the 6 weeks. If you are in the 6 weeks, go back and watch this episode again, because it's going to take you a little deeper into even what we're going to have a chance to talk about in the 6 weeks. This is one fragment of the whole program. Your story is a drill bit. Write that down. Your story is a drill bit. Here's what I mean by that. Let me first tell you what I don't mean by that. Now, maybe you have climbed Mount Everest. Maybe you've been bitten in half by a shark. Maybe you've been through years and years in a POW camp, or maybe you were abducted and mistreated or trafficked or something of that nature. Something that people look at and go, oh my gosh, how did you survive? And so your story The pain that you went through, whether it was just a bad divorce, or it was the custody of your children, or it was a bankruptcy, or it was mistreated by your neighbors or your government or whatever else, whatever tragic, traumatic, disastrous thing happened in your life, there's a story there. But the truth be told, there's probably more than one story. Here's the key. No one, including you, benefits from your trauma. I know that's hard to hear. Therapists everywhere are falling out of their chair. People who've been in therapy for years are falling out of their chair. No one benefits from your trauma. Maybe the idiot who did it to you. They'll get theirs. Trust me, there is a judge who will eventually make sure that those who traumatized you pay the price. They may not get justice that you can see, but justice is coming. That's an eternal promise. We'll deal with that later. Here's what I want you to know, though. There is no audience member. There is no person you lead. There is no investor. There is no one whose life you will speak into for the purpose of bringing them up to the next level who benefits from the trauma you suffered. Let that sink in for a minute. And then let me tell you where the power really is. Put that on hold. Put it in a parenthetical bracket because we're coming back to it. No one benefits from the trauma you suffered. Set that reality aside for a moment. Here's what I want you to think about. We moved into a house about 3 years ago. New house. When we moved in, they had done beautiful tile work in the bathroom. It was one of those walk-in showers with a little, 3-inch curb at the bottom so you don't trip over it trying to get in and out. Big enough for my wife and I, because we like to do that, to shower together. We have a great time in that environment. And so walking into the bathroom, there's this beautiful tile shower and tile floor, and everything is gorgeous. The one thing that I was concerned about, though, was that tile shower had no door. No door, no wall, not even a place to hang a shower curtain. So good thing it's just me and my wife in there because there's no modesty whatsoever. It's just, hey, there's the shower. But beyond that, I was terrified that I was going to step out of that shower one day from the wet tile in the shower to the wet tile on the floor and slip and crack my head. And I would be laying there post-shower, pre-getting dressed, when the ambulance arrives. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be a part of that scene, me laying unconscious in the floor, freshly showered. No, nobody wants that. Being a little terrified of that, I thought, well, I need a solution. Write that word down. I needed a solution. So what was my solution? I need something that keeps the water in the shower so the floor outside the shower is dry when I'm done showering. I think a beautiful idea would be a piece of glass just to keep the water in the shower. And so it just happened to be that I had a beautiful piece of tempered glass, like you would use for a shower door, not easy to break, easy to keep clean, still have the same light, you can see through it if you want to, but it keeps the water in the shower. Now the challenge I have is I have a piece of glass and I got to stick it to a wall. How are you going to do that? So I went to Home Depot. Now, normally when you go into Home Depot, it's like a cavern. You're just talking to yourself. But I happened to wander in and I found an old dude. Those are good things to find in a Home Depot. And I walked up to the old dude and I said, listen, I want to mount this piece of glass in my shower. I think what I'm going to do is put a frame around it. And when I put the frame around it, it's just going to be that 1/4 inch, trim. But I want to drill a hole through the trim and mount one side of that frame to the wall and one to the floor before I slide the glass in it, and then I can glue it, and then it'll be attached to the wall on the side and the bottom, and then I'll put a rim across the top to hold it in place. He said it's a brilliant idea. I said, so I'm not sure exactly what I need to be able to do that. He said, well, you need a masonry bit. A what? A masonry bit. What's a masonry bit? He said, well, you said it's covered in tile, right? Yeah. Well, it's probably got concrete underneath that tile on the floor. So you've got to be able to drill through that without overheating the drill bit and shattering the tile. Because then you're going to have to replace all the tile that you tried to drill through. Oh, Well, that's good to know. So he takes me to a place in the store to find a masonry drill bit. This is a very specialized drill bit. Now, I don't know about you. I run into a couple of people who swear they know someone who collects drill bits. Some people collect coins, some collect shoes, some collect purses, some collect ball caps. I personally have never met someone who randomly goes shopping for drill bits. I'm going to go to a local thrift store and see if they have any drill bits. I'm going to go check out the antique store and look for drill bits. I don't know anyone who does that. I don't know anyone who just collects drill bits for the sake of drill bits. But on this particular day, there was no other path to my solution: keep the water inside the shower. The fear, the pain, being found on the floor, freshly showered, not yet dressed. That's the fear. That's the pain. That's the thing I'm trying to avoid. The solution: keep the water in the shower. How do you keep the water in the shower? I'm going to put up a wall. How am I going to put up a wall? I have to drill a hole. I didn't have a hole problem. I didn't have a glass door problem. Those are all part of my solution. My problem was the fear of being found on the floor, post-showered, pre-dressed. Nobody wants that. But the only way to get to the solution of putting up a wall to keep the water in the shower is a very specialized kind of drill bit. And so I went to get a very special drill bit, and I paid $20+ for one drill bit. Not a set of drill bits, not a drill, one bit. One. You know how many times I've used that one bit? One. It cost me $20 for 10 minutes of hole drilling with one bit. That comes out to about $120 an hour. That's crazy. Who pays $120 an hour? And I was doing all the work. I hope this is clicking with you. So I got the drill bit, I went home and I installed the wall, and I've been able to keep the water in the shower. That's the win. That's the whole thing. Now, if you have followed the model of most people, that story misses something because you're looking for a traumatic event. Look, I didn't actually slip and fall and hit my head and be carried off in an ambulance post-shower pre-dressing. That never happened. But the fear was very real that it could happen, and the potential was very, very high that it could happen. And I wanted to mitigate that risk before the opportunity came. It wasn't the trauma of that event that created the story. Now, here's the other thing you need to know. Your story is not like my story. Your story is like my drill bit. Let me say that again. Your story is not like my story. Your story is like my drill bit. It's the one thing standing between the pain or the fear of pain and the solution necessary to prevent it or solve it. It's the one thing standing between the pain or the fear of pain and the solution. It's the one thing necessary to solve it. I could not have put that glass door up without drilling holes in that mason, that tile. And without a masonry bit, I could not have sufficiently drilled holes in that tile. In order to have the solution necessary, I had to have one step, one ingredient, one tool. The story that I'm encouraging you to tell as a leader, as a manager, as a communicator, as an author, that story is a drill bit. It's the one tool that stands between your audience's pain or problem, fear of a problem. The pain avoidance that they're looking for is the solution that you offer. The story is the drill bit that makes that solution work. You with me? See, here's one of the challenges. One of the challenges I see in those who want to tell stories is they feel like the only value in the story is when they can just dump all kinds of trauma into it. What they're really looking for, sadly, is not a solution to somebody else. They're not looking to say, here's what I experienced and here's what I learned and here's how that will help you. Often what they're doing is just reliving their trauma again. And what they're looking for is a pity party. Now, they may not say that. In fact, truth be known, they may not know that. They're not thinking in their head, hey, I need a pity party. What they're thinking in their head is, I've been told that if I tell a true, authentic story, a real thing that happened to me, if I tell about my pain and I tell it emotionally, that people will connect with me. And yes, there's truth to that. And there's truth that if you tell an authentic story, that people will see the real you, and that vulnerability and that transparency builds a deeper connection than using an anecdote or a made-up story. Those are all true. But they shouldn't be the only purpose for telling your story. Your story should be a pathway to a solution, because that's what people want. See, we go to the movies, we read a novel, we watch a television series because we vicariously live through other people's trauma and drama. We don't go to those sources for anything more than entertainment. When we move from entertainment to problem solving, I mean, what's the most you've ever paid to go to a movie? Forget about the concessions. I mean, forget about the $47 popcorn. You got to take out a mortgage to get a Slurpee. I'm not talking about that part. I'm talking about to go to the movie. Now, we know that Hollywood spends sometimes $300-400 million making a movie. And they're getting their money back $6 to $10 at a time. It's only by magnitude of scale that they could even be profitable on a movie like that. But your investment, your value for return, isn't about the popcorn and the Slurpee. The reason you went to that movie and told your friends they should go see that movie is for the pure entertainment value. Most of you, now I watch movies on purpose as part of my job. And yes, I write them off as a business expense. Why? Because I study story. I study the way people craft stories, how they develop the character, what kind of things they include and leave out, because that's part of my job. Part of my job is coaching my clients on how to better tell a story. That's what I do. It's a leadership capacity. It's a leadership role in my life to help other people who are going to stand in front of a crowd tell a better story. StoryPower Academy, we help leaders tell better stories better from the mirror to the media. It's my job. So I go to these movies as part of my job. I watch good movies and bad movies as part of my job. But see, you don't go to the movie theater to find solutions. You might go to a therapist, you might go to a counselor, you might go to a coach or a mentor to find solutions. Let me ask you this. If you go see a phenomenal movie that's 2.5, 3 hours long, and there's a few of them that are pushing 3 hours, I believe all of the Avatar movies were in the 3-hour range, or at least well over 2 hours. And you paid top dollar, $15 to go to a nice movie theater with the recliner, and they bring your food to you. You don't even have to chase down or stand in line at the popcorn line, right? You pay top dollar to sit in this nice leather recliner and watch this film. You paid $15. But you're there for 3 hours. So what is that? $5 an hour that you're paying to experience the movie. What's that storyline worth to you? $5 an hour. Now, if you went and sat in the leather recliner and talked to a coach for an hour, it's going to be in the hundreds, maybe thousands. Brendan Burchard only has 4 clients a year. They pay close to $1 million. Why? Because he's getting to the bottom of the problem. He is the drill bit in their life to solve the problem, to keep the water in the shower. He's not there for entertainment. The questions he's asking, the answers he's providing, the stories he's telling, lead them to, I'm going to keep the water in the shower for you. Whatever your problem is, I'm going to help you find the solution, and we're going to put it in place. The implementation of installing that glass wall was the business of the leader, the manager, the coach, the mentor in your life. That's not a $5 an hour entertainment value. That's an implementation value that requires some imagination and some great communication skills and some understanding of the unification of people skills. If your story is purely on the entertainment side, that's a different thing. A purely entertaining story might make for a great keynote. At that point, you're not getting paid for solutions as much as you're getting paid for entertainment. And that's fine. There are entertaining speakers who make great money, and all they do is entertain. Nobody's looking to them to go, here's the problem I have in my life, I need a solution. They're looking to them to go, I'm bored. I need some entertainment. Tell me something fascinating. Tell me something funny. If you've ever been around a comedian, one of the most common and annoying things that they hear is, hey, tell me a joke. That's not how it works. First off, you have to pay for me to be funny, because that's what I do for a living. I get paid to be funny. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about comedians. I don't get paid to be funny because I'm not that good at it. On the other side, you've got those people who, like an accountant, an on-call doctor, someone that you might call, dial a nurse. I know there are lots of companies out there who now provide that. Some of them even provide it by AI. You tell it your symptoms and it gives you a diagnosis. You never see a doctor, you just get an answer. Okay then. But you pay by the minute for that kind of service. You pay by the hour, and it's a bigger price than $5 an hour to go to the movie. The value of the story has to do with the solution that it provides, the pain that it prevents, the obstacle that it overcomes. The drill bit value of your story isn't entertainment. It's providing a solution. So telling an authentic story, telling a real story, telling a dramatic story, telling a story that has something in it that causes people to lean in and they pay attention and they're listening to the characters, and what's happening matters to them. Maybe it resonates because they've been through it before. Maybe it resonates because they're thinking, wow, I never want to experience that. How do you prevent it from happening again? Now, there are a whole lot of people out there that have been victims of assault. They've been victims of robbery. They've been, victims of some kind of crime, home break-in or identity theft or whatever else. And the result of that victimhood didn't send their life down a path of utter destruction. It didn't send them in a way where they were like, I just quit, I give up on life, I'm never doing this again. It sent them on a path of research and dedication and devotion to say, I'm going to take this pain that I went through, this problem that I experienced, because I know there are other people that experience it, and I'm going to find a solution, and then I'm going to make that solution available to others. Now, the power of their story is still a drill bit, is to say, I know the pain you're going through because I've been through it. I know what you did, and I know what you're doing right now. I can also tell you, if you don't change what you're doing right now, here's where you're going to be headed. Because I did. I walked that path. But let me tell you where the next landmine is, and let me tell you how to avoid it. That's what a good coach, mentor, instructor, the guru, Sherpa does for you. Is to say, this is your life. I want you to be the hero of your life. I want you to move forward with your life. I want you to have a great life. But right now you have this problem that I once had. And I'm not here to commiserate with you. I'm not trying to create a pity party. I don't want you to feel sorry for me that the same thing happened to me. What I want is for you to realize there's a better opportunity. There's another option. I found the solution you're looking for. Let me show you how it works. If you can do that, you have value, not $5 an hour entertainment value. You have that $200, $2,000, as Myron Golden says, $10,000 an hour opportunity in the palm of your hand. Masterfully communicating that I went through this problem, I found these solutions, and if you will implement these solutions, the first thing you're going to have to do is decide what kind of wall you're going to put up to keep the water in the shower. Are you going to build more brick? Are you going to put a piece of wood up there? Are you going to stretch some garbage bags with some duct tape? The level of your solution is going to be directly related to the amount of investment you're going to have to do. A glass wall was not as inexpensive as duct taping some garbage bags. Would they both have served the purpose? Yes. Would they have increased the value of my house? No. Garbage bags duct taped to the wall, not so pretty. You follow me? The solution that you want is probably not the cheapest solution. The solution that you want is probably not the easiest solution. You're going to have to invest a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, maybe a little bit of pain in getting to that solution. But in the end, the solved state of your life is so much better than the drama state of your life. It's worth the investment. The story of the leader isn't about a pity party. It's not about producing drama just to make you look. It's not about re-experiencing the trauma of the past. It's telling the story so that people find the implementable tools, things that they can look at and go, oh, well, I could have done that. Then do that. I remember walking, it's been years ago, probably, I don't know, close to 15 years ago, maybe longer than that. I was walking through a little multi-acre, probably 200-acre flea market called Canton First Monday. If you've never been to Canton, Texas on the first Monday of the month, it's worth the trip. First Monday starts on Thursday of the week before, the last week of the month. The first Monday of each month, that's when they do it. But you will find all kinds of stuff. People who are reselling salt and pepper shakers that they bought at the thrift store, all the way up to people who are selling hand-carved, more than life-size grizzly bears carved out of the trunk of a tree. Some beautiful work. And one particular booth had these little signs. Most of them were carved with a router out of a piece of barnwood, hung with a piece of baling wire, cute little wire, twisty, so you can hang it on your door like a little door plaque. And their monetary value, I mean, it's a piece of barnwood and a piece of baling wire. What do you got invested in making that thing? 18 cents? It took you maybe, 20 minutes to take a router and lay a stencil down and go, and cut the words into it? Brilliant. They sold for $20. What? How many of those can you make in an hour? 40? So you're making $800 an hour making these silly little plaques and signs? And he was selling them hand over fist. And right there in his booth was this beautifully printed. It was a metal sign, like a street sign, like what you would see when it says, don't park here because I'll tow your car. It was that kind of sign. And on that sign it said, I know you could do this yourself, but you didn't. So $20 is a great price. Good point. That's a good point. If I knew that I could do it myself, but I haven't, I spent almost 3 hours doing my lawn care yesterday in my own yard. The weeding, the trimming, the leaf blowing, the whole thing. Almost 3 hours. Why? Because I don't want to pay somebody else to do it. I want to do it myself. But by the time I got to it, the grass was almost up to my knees because we've had several rainy weekends and traveling weekends. I could have done it myself, and eventually I did. But if I'd paid somebody to do it, which would have been a better use of my time? For me, it's a little therapeutic. I put on my headphones. I don't like the work, but I like the quiet time. Nobody messes with me. I get to listen to 3 hours of podcast, uninterrupted, while I mow the yard. That's how I redeem that time. But for anybody else who says, I don't want to have to mow the yard, well, now you've got to find the equivalent, right? If you don't want to do the work, you're going to have to pay somebody to do the work. The power of your story rests in the fact that you've already experienced the trauma, and found the solution. What they want to pay you for is not your drama, not your trauma, but your solution. They don't want to go through everything you went through. Maybe that journey took you 2 years. Maybe it took you 5 years. I can tell you, there are millions of people who've gone through bankruptcy. There are a few 100,000 who have gone through bankruptcy and recovered. There are a handful of people who went through bankruptcy and in 18 months made back more money than they lost because they found a solution that the rest of the world now wants. So what's your story? Is your story valuable because you're filled with drama and trauma? Or is your story valuable because you found a painful experience and a path out of it? It's the path out of it that people want. It's not the entertainment value of your drama story or reliving the trauma of your story. Nobody wants that. If they did, they'd pay $5 and go to the movie theater. What they want is a solution so that if they've experienced the same thing, they can get out, or the solution that prevents that from ever happening to them. If you've got that story, they'll pay you good money for that. That's what you need to work on in your story. The process of story power starts with story mining, story selection, story qualifying, And then we start actually crafting the story. If you're not going to take the time to dig through your stories, not just the big meta story, not just the big drama story, not just the I was bitten in half by a shark story, but the moments where you learn something valuable that you can transfer that value to somebody else in the form of a story that keeps them engaged and listening, not just the here's what I did and here's how you can do it. That's a great part, but the more you can embed that in a story that keeps their attention, the more likely they are to hear the solution you're offering. At the end of the day, they can choose to mow their own yard, they can choose to make their own plaques, or they can spend a little bit of money to get it done faster, to get it done with less pain, to get it done by somebody who knows what they're doing. I don't care if you build websites or social media. I don't care if you lead a team of people in a fast food restaurant or a mega multinational corporation. The stories that you tell provide solutions. They develop attitude. They create your internal culture. And eventually they become the brand the world knows you for. You're responsible for those stories. Not drama and trauma, but solutions. And if that's something that you're interested in working on, go to StoryPowerAcademy.com because we have a lot of solutions for you, both in the leadership development side and the how do I communicate that story side. I really hope you'll take the time to stop rehearsing the trauma and start providing solutions. Your story isn't just entertainment, it's a drill bit. It's a tool to help others solve the problems that they're suffering with right now. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. There is a retreat coming up that I want you to know about. It's called the StoryPower Academy Retreat. This StoryPower Retreat is about focusing on your communication skills, taking them to the next level. Discover, develop, draft, deploy, and deliver some of the best stories you've ever learned. You're going to listen, create, connect, relax, and reflect around this beautiful lake scene in Granbury, Texas. It's a chance to rejuvenate and refresh and start over with some of the best training you can possibly imagine around storytelling, leadership, and communication. Join us, get away, and relax.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal